In this video, we're going to be going over how to build the hutch for the 2-child homeschool table build that we've been doing on the channel. Obviously, this is one of the 3 parts of that series. So if you're looking for the full build, just look around for each of those 3 parts. There'll be a table, legs, and of course, this hutch. So the hutch, of course, is a really fun part to it because, of course, this is going to add all the storage that we want to have on there. So hopefully they won't make a big mess out of it. We can always hope as parents, right? Anyway, on that note, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification icon for all of our newest DIY videos and tool reviews. In the meantime, let's get to the build. Okay, so we went ahead and got the table all squared up and everything. Everything's looking nice on these edges from before. So I went ahead and got all the layout done. We're going to have 2 laptops, one here, one there, and then we're going to have a printer right here. And so then what we're going to do is do a floating hutch that's going to go over the top. It's not really going to be floating per se, because we're going to have 4 connection points. Let me run you through that. So we're going to have a connection point here, 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 and here. And we're going to be bringing this up to about 18 inches. Can I get my head cut off here? We're going to be bringing this up to about 18 inches, so this way we can still get to the scanner and everything, and then the printer will just kind of sit back here and leave a little bit of extra space right up here in the front for elbows and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and get on that, cut those down, and then we'll be right back. So we're going to get down to the drilling part. Okay, and for the bottom part, basically we're going to do something similar. And notice that I've got this taped off very narrowly, so it's basically go about 3/4 of the way through the board, and then we get pretty close to this, we just stop, and we move on to drilling this one here. And we have identical marks on this side, which you can't really see. We have identical marks on this side here to tell us where we need to be drilling in here. So that's basically how that works. So let's get drilling. Remember, these don't have to be too deep because they're primarily just keeping it from shifting left to right. That's all they're really doing. So don't go too crazy with this. All right, so we're going to go ahead and then drill out the bottom of this part here. And this is pretty simple. We already got our basic layout all done, so just going to kind of run through here. The only bummer to this is that you're having to drill through end grain, which is about as fun as it gets. Now we are going to glue this, so there is that. But yeah, so. I'm just going to use a spacer here real quick. We have one of our original cutoffs here. This will do. This will help us get that same exact alignment that we have on the table level right here. This way we know, hey, you know what? Double check that real quick. Yep, that's good to go. You can see this is basically the same thickness. So now we know where our offset is. So now we'll just go ahead and drill into that. So now we'll go ahead and put in our stationary dowels. And like I said, these are just to primarily keep things in place. So they just kind of do what they do. Now if we put this on here, what we should find, if we did everything correct that is, this is it. It will land right on there. So let's try that out. There we go. Okay, cool. So now that's stationary. That's not going anywhere. So we now know that we've got everything basically where it needs to be. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put some support structures in between each of the different panels before we do the dowels. And the reason why is because basically what we're going to do is put some pocket holes in the back because you're never going to see them. So we don't really need to go dowel crazy for this part, right? And then up here, we're going to go ahead and use our trusty Fostner bit to go ahead and make us some cable management holes and get that looking nice and everything. So that's what we're going to do right now. There you go. We got all of our holes drilled, all of our pocket screws squared up. So now all we have to do is just put it in. All right, here we go. So I like to add a little bit of glue onto my pocket hole screws. It just makes me feel better. And besides that, this is hide glue, so it has a tendency to make the project look a little bit more complete. Even though hide glue doesn't truly hide, isn't truly designed to hide anything, it actually does. So I guess it was a good name. It's actually an animal glue, so there you go. Now you know. Not sure from what animal, though. They don't tell you that kind of stuff. All right, let's get this put in. Okay, so I think you see why we don't attach the hutch ahead of time. We attach it after the fact. And the reason why we do that is because we want to be able to make sure we can pull it off so that way we can do our roundovers and stuff like that, but we also want to make sure we have all of our spacings done. So this basically determines the spacing on here, which determines the length and all that. So anyway, bunch of math. There you go. So what we're going to do here is that since we have our reinforcements in, we're able to bring this down before we peg everything else in. And then we're just going to go ahead and route that edge straight down. And then we might fill this in, probably should. And then we'll get this rocking, so let's do this. We're all done. We got a nice profile edge on there. That's gonna look really nice. We've got a nice flat here on the bottom, so no big deal. That's fine because it kind of matches with the table a little bit. Yeah, so pretty much just going to do some filling and sanding at this point. Get this thing ready to rock. Glue this down, and I think it's going to be ready to rock here pretty quick. Okay, so we got our basics out of the way. Everything's been sprayed, sanded. Took a few days on working on that, just kind of get that right. We're going to go and do the legs here a little bit more, just kind of get some extra finish on them. Legs take a lot of damage, kind of like tabletops, and that did take us a while. So probably about 7 coats on here, probably about 3 or 4 coats on here. But now we got everything sprayed. Now, normally you'd want to go ahead and do the shelf pins ahead of time. I forgot. So we're going to go ahead and do them now, which is fine. You know, it's a take your time, do it right kind of a deal, right? So we're going to go ahead and put those in. Then we're going to go ahead and glue this up. Then we're actually going to work on the shelves last. So that'll be our last thing on our agenda. Or second to last, because we still have to get the tabletop attached to the legs and everything and respray that. But the reason why this is being kind of left till last, especially if you have a small shop like I do, is, well, quite frankly, you just kind of have ran out of space. I mean, I've got a 2-car garage here that I'm working out of, and I have like no space. So I had to stop somewhere. So this is where we stopped. So then we're going to go ahead and do the shelves. So that'll be coming up next after pins. We have some knotty elder. Yes, knotty elder that we're going to be using on that part, and that'll be really cool. So we're just going to do probably some join ups real quick, kind of measure it out, make sure everything's good to go. These were all one board size, so I might be able to get away with one without having to do too much joining, if any, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so for right now, we're going to go ahead and do shelf pins, and we're actually going to be using this, again, not sponsored. I'm not sponsored by anybody, just so you guys know, at least not at this point in my life. So we're going to go ahead and use this Craig shelf pin jig that I picked up a while back for another project, and absolutely love this thing. I think it was like, I want to say it was like 35 bucks, probably 35 bucks. Anyway, we'll leave a link down in the description for that, and then you can go check this out yourself if you're interested. I highly recommend it. This is something you should have in every shop. It's just a really easy jig to use. So we're going to get to that, and let's get rocking. So when you're using one of these jigs, you want to try to, especially if you have a finished surface like we do where we've already lacquered this, we want to make sure that when we go to put it on here and lock it down, we want to make sure we have something over the other end that's going to actually be touching the wood. So I put a little cloth on here, and we're just going to try to put this out of the way. Most importantly, level. So level off from the front, level off from the top, and then you can just clamp that right on. There you go, boom. So now we'll go ahead and take this. Now the interesting part about this jig, just pop this off here. The interesting thing about this jig is that you can start anywhere on here and you'll always wind up with the same thing. You just have to remember where you started. So you're probably not going to start on the top. So that's where this little pin will come in, and you'll see how that's done here in just a minute. But we're just going to go and put that on there. Put this on here. Boom. And we're not good to go because I'm slightly off. So there we go. Now we're good to rock and roll. Okay. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to start down probably right about here. I think that's a good starting spot here. That kind of gives us about 4 down. That'll going to give us this area right here. So, in fact, yeah, I don't think there'd be any use in a shelf that big. So, I think we'll go from here and do this. So, all set to go. So now we'll go ahead and put our pin in. What this does, this keeps the jig in place while you're drilling. It also allows you to go and reposition it later so that way you can do more shelves. Okay, that should be good. That's just to get us started anyway. So we'll go ahead and pull that. And as you can see, it's still staying in place. It's not going anywhere. So we'll go ahead and pull that out. We've already got 2 really nice holes. The drill bit they include with that is actually really nice, by the way. So let me just go here, lock that in place, boom, we're ready to go. We can do our next set. So we'll go ahead and do this set, and I think that's about all we're going to really do on this, because anything lower than this, it seems like could be a little ridiculous. I don't know. We'll see. I got a chance to see how the shelf pins get in. So off camera, I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of these. But I just kind of wanted to show you how well that works because I think it's a really neat little jig that everyone should have. And as you can see, it just slides those pins right in there and they're good to go. So pretty simple, pretty easy. Anybody can do it. That's the nice thing about it. Okay, so got them all done. I'm putting some pins here as an example because we're only doing like 2 shelves on this. So that's all squared away. Let me zoom in here a little bit for you. All right, so as you can see, those are all in nice and even. Of course, we can see that right here. If we go over here, again, we can see that those are all nice and even. So that all being said, I'm going to go ahead and take the opportunity, since we have all of this part done, we're going to go ahead and hit that right over there. So we're just going to go ahead and start the glue up over here to get all the dowels in here and everything, get those all glued up, and then go ahead and put the hutch right on top of here. I know it's not attached yet to the base, and that's fine. This just makes it so we can make this whole thing as one piece, which makes portability a lot easier, because we can assemble this in the house. We don't have to assemble this out here, which is really, really kind of cool. So we're gonna go ahead and work on that next, so let's do it. All right, and that's about it as far as that goes. You at this point could go ahead and put something really super heavy on top of here if you really felt like it was necessary. This kind of more or less locked into place. I had to tap it, as you can see here in the video, quite a few times just to kind of get it to lock in properly. So those dowels are nice and tight, just like they need to be. So this thing's not going anywhere. It's gonna rip off the top probably before it'll actually fall off. So, but yeah, we'll go ahead and let that dry overnight. Come back tomorrow, and we'll work on some more. For you, that'll be the next scene. So here we go. For this last part, we're just going to go ahead and glue up the shelves. Now, I already went ahead and made my strips. They're 1/2 inch thickness, and then they're just the standard about 3/4 height. And then we have 2 of these for each of the shelves. Cut a little extra long, so that way we can go ahead and clean them up and everything before we move forward. So we're setting this up basically so we can run this through the planer. If you have like S4S boards, you won't probably need to do all this. So part of the reason why I skipped over all the cuts, but ultimately these are 4 inches exactly, 27 inches across. The actual size is about 26.5 roughly for each of the different shelves. So we're obviously going to be cutting these down, but we're going to be making 4 shelves. And these are 4 end caps for those shelves, so, or wood banding, as some people call it, but whatever you want to call it, that's what it is. So this will be basically placed on the end, and then, yeah, that'll be it. That'll pretty much be the whole project at that point. So let's go ahead and get these guys squared up and glued up, and we'll get rocking. So the clamping strategy is pretty simple. We got our clamps all pre-set up and everything, ready to go. Now the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and put in our number 20 biscuits, because we're going for the big guys, along with gluing. So we'll go ahead and get that part going. All right, cool. So we went ahead and got all the shelves done. You can see they're all nice and squared away. Now, we of course went and already sanded these and planed them and got them to where they need to be. But after a little bit of work, came out looking really nice. So now I went ahead and measured out where they actually physically sit on the desk itself. So we're gonna go ahead and cut off this little piece right here. And then we're just going to go and check our fitment, make sure they fit on there good. And if they do, then we'll be pretty much done with that part. And then going to do some little extra something or others on here. So you get to see that. Let's get. Okay, so since we went ahead and decided on the no back on the actual hutch, we're going to go ahead and use this very tiny bit down here to go ahead and cut a small rabbet basically in here, the size of, well, one of these approximately. Maybe just a tiny bit longer and then we'll probably have to chisel out anything that remains, because this bit's not exactly the size that we need it to be, but it's pretty close. We'll see. I'm going to double check it here after we're done doing the first cuts. But ultimately, we're going to go ahead and just run it through here up to this point right here, and that's approximately the entire length of this thing. And then we'll be able to just kind of just put the shelves right over these, and then they'll just hold in place. So it's actually kind of a neat little thing to do. It keeps the shelves from moving. It's a little extra that just makes it a little bit better, right? So let's do this. Okay, so we'll go ahead and chisel out the rest, and then we'll have some nice joints right here just to drop right in. So I'll go ahead and get to that, and you folks will get to see the final product. And they're all done. So as you can see here, we've got our slats on here, or rabbits, whatever you want to call them. They're not all pretty. In fact, I'll pick out the prettiest one here just for fun. But yeah, they're not all pretty. As you can see, they have a few little discrepancies in there. But you know what? That's okay, because this is handmade and it needs to look handmade somewhat, because we're not machines. This will fit directly on the shelf. We already went ahead and tested them to make sure that it would fit there. And it fits great. It locks right in. And despite it looking maybe a tiny bit ugly, overall, it does the job. And it does it very well. So at this point here, we're going to go ahead and spray these down, get these all set up. And as you can see, it turned out really, really well. As you can see, the kids have already piled it full of junk, and we've got all the networking equipment up there and all sorts of other odds and ends. And it's working great, so there you go. All right, cool. Well, that definitely finished off the table really, really good, having that hutch on there, didn't it? I liked it too. And honestly, this has worked out really good. We've had this running for about 6 months out there for them, and it's worked great. So we haven't had any problems with it or anything weird about it. And honestly, I think it kind of supports that tabletop a little bit and kind of gives it that little rigidity that you're looking for. Big word there, rigidity. So anyway, I would definitely recommend, if you're going to be doing the 2-kid homeschool table, definitely would recommend building that hutch. Not only is it good for storage, but it's going to make it a little bit more rigid, so it's going to be more stable just overall. And I mean, storage, yes. Children, pens, stuff, they need storage. It just is what it is. So build it. You'll like it. And then actually, we're going to have one extra part to this that we didn't originally plan on filming or even building at the time when we did this. So that's going to be a printer cart, which will be coming up here shortly. So you'll be seeing that video here soon. So definitely on that note, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification icon for all of our newest DIY videos and tour reviews. And also, so you can go and get a notification when we come out with that printer cart, which is actually really cool. So I think you're really going to like it. So on that note, stay safe in the shop, and we'll see you next time.